Hello everyone, welcome to my Global Action Plan pitch. Today I'll be discussing about my plan where I'll be raising awareness for organ donation. So we're going to begin this by showing you guys a quick video.
If someone you love was offered a life-saving organ, what would you do? Nothing? Nearly all of us would take an organ, but most of us put off registering as a donor. If you believe in organ donation, prove it. Register now.
This was just a video, impactful video about organ donation and the power of it. So let me just start this PowerPoint. Perfect. So basically today I'll be discussing my global action plan where I'll be raising awareness for organ donation, which is a cause I'm really passionate about and care about a lot. So I'm going to begin by showing you guys an infographic about the need for my plan and the need for a plan that can raise organ donation within my community. So there's some interesting stats here. Over 3,000 people were waiting for an organ transplant at the end of 2015. Furthermore, 195 Canadians died that same year waiting for a transplant. One thing I found really interesting was that about 90% of Canadians are in favor of the idea of organ donation, but for some reason only 24% of Canadians are registered organ donors. So there's this big gap here, which I found really interesting when conducting my background research and something I want to bridge through my global action plan. So how can I help? So if most people actually knew how to register and they knew the benefits of organ donation, they would register. I just need to be taking a proactive approach to bring the issue to the forefront and make people actually think about the impact they can make by clicking, by making the check mark and actually deciding to become a donor. Education is key for this. If people know about, they can save lives with this. One organ can save up to 8 lives and benefit up to 80 lives. So if people know about the great impact they can make just by taking 2 minutes of their time to register, they can make a big difference. So my global action plan is to promote organ donation and awareness and encourage people to register within 3 communities that I'll be very involved with. My mosque, the Islamic Society of North America, the University of Western Ontario, which is where I'll be attending next year, and on social media, specifically Twitter. So through this project, I'll be intending to raise organ donation awareness and debunk misconceptions about the process to encourage people to register. One organization that my global action plan is linked heavily with is Gift of Life, which is affiliated with Trillium Health Partners in Mississauga, but they work all throughout Ontario. So what they do is connect fellow advocates who want to raise awareness about organ donation. They hand out ribbons and they do a lot of work to raise awareness already, but it's mostly up to people to contact them and say, we want to get involved. They help run events like fundraisers and basically big get-togethers where people share their stories about organ donation, and it's essentially a platform for people to raise awareness. They also have a huge database of information, which is where I got a lot of my background off of, and it really helps people who want to raise organ donation awareness, like myself, to have a proper understanding and knowledge of the current climate so we can take action. So, as mentioned earlier, I have 3 main areas of involvement for my global action plan: the Islamic Society of North America, Western University, and Twitter. These are 3 communities that I'm heavily involved in and that I'm frequently on. So I felt like, this is a perfect platform to make a difference. Firstly, I'll be discussing the first portion of my plan, which is where I'll be raising organ donation awareness at the Islamic Society of North America. It's the largest. It's located in southern Mississauga, approximately a 10-minute drive from Appleby College, and it's the biggest mosque in Mississauga. I attend whenever I can, especially now during the month of Ramadan. I'm there almost every day, and they also have a high school, which is from grades 9 to 12, full-time member faculty, and they draw a really diverse population. You see people from Southern Asia, people from Africa, African descent, people who are people of different genders, ages. It's a really diverse and great community to be a part of, and I feel really proud to. So when conducting my background research, I noticed that There were low registered organ donors from Southern Asian communities, specifically from Pakistan, which is where my family is from. And I know that ISNA draws a lot of people from Pakistan, and I know that ISNA has such a huge following. So I felt, this huge following is a great place for me to share my global action plan. This tied in with Canada and Mississauga's low organ donor percentage. I felt that it's needed to use this great opportunity and position I have at the mosque to actually make a difference. So I want to gain an understanding about organ donation rates and attitudes from people who attend the mosque. I also want to identify the misconceptions and barriers towards organ donation amongst the Muslim community at ISNA. And I also want to establish a committee and a team that will work with Gift of Life, my organization, in collaboration with ISNA to carry out plans to further raise organ donation awareness at the mosque. So here is my plan. I'll be conducting an environmental scan, to get to know the climate and some attitudes and collect some qualitative information about what people feel about organ donation. I'll also be collecting stats from Gift of Life, Canadian Blood Services, and organizations like that to help promote my cause and share within the mosque. So I'll be conducting a pilot survey to understand attitudes towards organ donation. But before I do all of this, I'll have to make a formal proposal to the ISNA community to get their buy-in and support for my plan. I've already spoken to a prominent member, Imam Sheikh Allah, about my cause, and I have his support. Now I need to take a further step of getting a full approval for these surveys. These surveys I'll be making them with Gift of Life, and I'll also be analyzing them with that organization. The plan is to hand out these surveys to approximately 100 people, and people of different ages and genders and ethnic backgrounds. I'll also be coming up with a needs assessment following the survey, and I realize the most likely outcome is that I'll need to establish a committee full of members who are committed to raising organ donation awareness at the mosque and identifying the barriers and misconceptions and tackling them. So I have some logistical information here and issues that I'll need to consider. I need to approach ISNA in a really culturally sensitive manner, not be overly aggressive, and not come across as shaming people for not being registered organ donors. I need to have a positive tone and preach my message in a uplifting way. I also will have to introduce my members of Gift of Life to the mosque hierarchy and people at the mosque, and bridge a healthy working relationship where there'll be great benefits for the future. I'll also need to assemble a cohesive team of volunteers or people who will be at the mosque full-time and people who attend the mosque weekly. Knowing that I'll be at Western, I'll need people who are in and around the mosque to be a part of this team. Now I have some benchmarks for success that I'll be looking to complete. So obviously I need this completion of the survey, and I'll need to come up with good analysis for the results and come up with good steps to take after that. I'll also need the community to be established and get a good team of volunteers who are also passionate about the cause like me to take further action. This team, as mentioned earlier, we'll work towards not just holding info sessions and at the mosque, but we're also going to try to push for a Friday sermon, which draws lots of people from the mosque, where the Imam will promote organ donation. We plan to do this April of next year during the Organ Donation Awareness Month. We want the Friday sermon, we obviously want the Friday sermon to go through and make an impact on people at the mosque and really resonate and encourage people to register. On to the second part of my plan, which will be at Western. My plan is to raise organ donation awareness within my peer group at the University of Western Ontario, people of similar age group with me who I'll be able to connect with really well, in my opinion. So I realized when I made my trip to Western this March, when I was looking over the university, which my brother currently attends, I saw that there are no organ donation clubs or interest groups, which I found kind of strange because they have the London Health Sciences Centre, and in fact, they also have a multi-organ tissue transplant program. So it didn't really make sense why there wasn't really a group, a campus group at the university that could help promote the cause and be involved in it. There's such a great opportunity being at Western, which has over 28,000 students enrolled and approximately 23,000 undergraduate students. I could be promoting my cause to the next generation of professionals who will then, use what they've learned working and promote and the passion for organ donation further in their lives. So it's such a great opportunity that I will be taking advantage of. So my plan is to submit a proposal to introduce a club this fall in the start of the academic year. I've already connected with a variety of Western students from different programs and different ages, and I have their support. I just need to make more concrete steps once the university year starts to take action. I'm also part of a Western Facebook group for the students who will be starting next year, and I've already discussed my global action plan and club idea to them. So I'm looking to get make a big team, a great cohesive team of people involved in my club. So I also came up with some logistical issues and things I need to consider. I'll be connecting with the London Health Sciences Centre, and I will hope to use them as a great resource and establish a great working relationship with them, and perhaps provide volunteer experiences for club members. We'll also be arranging volunteer opportunities, which I just mentioned, and I'll also need to be working with Gift of Life to arrange special events. As mentioned earlier, Gift of Life provide ribbons, and they help host events, like to help set up booths and stuff like that. So doing stuff on campus and preaching organ donation awareness on campus is one thing that this club will look to get done. I'll also be reaching up to Western students on like the social media page as mentioned, through Res Life, through interacting with people on campus. I love to meet new people, and when I do, I'll definitely be bringing this cause, which I'm so passionate about and I want to spread. And I'll need an executive team of people who are organized and people who are passionate about the issue, because I'll be in a pretty rigorous academic schedule. I'll need a pretty decently sized group of executive members who will help get the missions and goals of the club right and continue to work towards raising organ donation awareness within the community. So I have some benchmarks for success here. I obviously need the club to get approved, which I'm very confident about happening. I'll also need to ensure the collaboration with Gift of Life and the London Health Sciences Centre goes smoothly, and that we can end up getting events done on time. Now onto my third plan, Twitter. We all know that Twitter has become a pretty popular place to share opinions over the last couple years or so. So I decided, as a small part of my global action plan, just to raise organ donation online. As you can see, this is my account. I've tweeted over 25,000 times. Probably spend a bit too much time on Twitter than I should be. But nevertheless, social media can be harnessed to do good in this world and do great. As you can see in my bio, I say I'm an organ donation activist. So I'm proud about my global action plan, I'll tell you that. So this is needed because even though it's a minor part of my plan, I want to remind people about the importance of organ donation. Like as mentioned earlier in my background research, the bridge between people who are interested in being a donor and actually registering is so high. But if I bring this issue to the forefront and display it on social media through the use of infographics, articles, impactful, sharing advertisements, stuff like that, it can start dialogue and get people thinking about organ donation. If I can just make a small difference, it'll definitely be worth it. So my plan is pretty straightforward. I'll just be I'll be using my passion for soccer. As mentioned on my Twitter page, I tweet a lot about soccer. I've written for a variety of websites, which has allowed me to establish great connections and a decent following. And I'll be incorporating organ donation into my work and promote awareness. Talking about issues that are don't have to do with soccer have allowed me to establish great connections and even deeper relationships with really famous journalists, people with hundreds of thousands of followers, and people who have a lot of power on social media. So I'll be looking to get retweets from them, getting them to share my work, just to get it broadcast to the global community. And I'll utilize these relationships to really make a big difference online. So this leads to my 5-year timeline I made here. The blue text represents my work at the mosque, and the black one represents my work with Western and also external volunteering I've done. So basically the big times for my work at ISNA will be when I'm home from university, specifically this summer, this Christmas and reading week, where I'll be looking to form like my organ donation survey this summer. During Christmas, we'll be looking to carry out the survey and analyzing the results with Gift of Life. And during the reading week, we'll be looking to host sessions and establish like this resource center at ISNA for organ donation. And we'll be looking to write up the sermon with religious scholars and a Gift of Life that the Imam will be giving in April during Organ Donation Awareness Month. And for my work at Western, the key dates are the fall, which is when I'll be getting the signatures for the club and hopefully getting it approved, and April, which is when we'll be running organ donation awareness campaign events. So the month of April will be hectic for me, but I'm confident months of planning for this and work with a cohesive team and people who are also passionate about this issue will lead to smooth sailing and a successful end product. And at the end of each summer, I'll be evaluating the past year, how things have gone, tweaking things up, and making improvements for the following year. And I'm basically going with the flow here, but I think that being aware of the strengths and weaknesses of my events that I've done and my work will allow me to further progress my plan and allow me to stay on message. So, my first year of my global action plan, I've been able to establish some great connections at Gift of Life, specifically Jennifer Long, who's helped me, who's introduced me to so many people and other activists in my area. I've also spoken with the Imam, Sheikh Allah, who has been very kind to speak with me and has it supports my idea, my global action plan. One of the challenges is I realized was that I need to create a really structured approach to when I approach the mosque. I'll need to have a lot of details and logistics already completely set up. There's still work to be done, and I've realized this is a challenge, and this is something I've been working towards in year one. I've also been in contact with a lot of students on Western, specifically on the Facebook page, and students I've met. One challenge I figured out was finding out who really is passionate and who just wants to join the club just to kind of help me because I'm a friend. So that's one thing I'm trying to sort out, and I think we'll see that at the start of the next academic year. It's something important here. Also, I've been advocating for organ donation on Twitter. One small challenge is that I spend a lot of time on Twitter, so I need to maybe balance it out with other stuff, balancing out my work with soccer, with organ donation, and getting a good mix there. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry. I was supposed to give you 5 minute things, and I only managed to remember the last 5, so I did a very good job. I'm going to open this up to questions for folks.
I would like to ask a question. It's a great idea, and I thought about it as well in the past. And one of the things which I think when I'm thinking about the idea is whether this club which you're doing and advancing, could it be organized to argue for the government to pass legislation according to which everyone will be an organ donor except if they want to exclude themselves. And in that case, it will eventually it become more encompassing, and at the same time you could eventually launch yourself into some kind of a political, federal, but at the same time more social, larger sphere.
That's a really intriguing question. That's so interesting. I think that's a great end goal to work towards. Like, if I can somehow, my work somehow can, make people get more an army of people supporting. Potentially, that's definitely something we could look at. In an ideal world, that would be great, having automatic registry. But I think there would be a bit of backlash, because there are people, especially there have been cases where people have had children or family members who've died, but have actually declined, saying no, you can't be an organ donor. And there's also people who have belief systems where they believe that organ donation is it's wrong, and they firmly believe it. But definitely, if working towards legislation to increase organ donors is definitely something.
That's an idea that eventually everyone is, only if they do not want, they have the right to opt
For
out.
sure.
And then it becomes more of a larger social issue, could become, in which these clubs could fit better, not only with your cultural community, but also with other organizations in a huge front
Yeah.
in accomplishing the task.
Yeah, for sure. That's so interesting. If we can get something like that done, that'll be great. Instead of like having a question when you're getting your G1 license, will you be an organ donor? Just ask if you won't be one. You're
Yes,
already selected.
exactly.
That's not something like, that would be something fantastic and a very long-term goal, but potentially achievable. That's definitely something to look forward to. And really interesting.
I have a two-parter.
Sure, please do.
Adam, in your discussion, you talked about sort of some of the common misconceptions around. Can you sort of elaborate a little bit what maybe in your work, maybe with the Trillium Group or in your own experiences, what some of those sort of common misconceptions are around why people maybe don't become organ
For sure.
donors?
So some people believe organ donation is like sacrilegious and it's anti-religious, but I think I mentioned this when I discussed this. My work at ISNA, I'll be using religious scholars who have like really good insight into the issue that like are aware that it's not really sacrilegious here and stuff like that. So that's one misconception. There's also the misconception that like once you become like an organ donor that you can't go back. Like once you go, like your body's just gonna get cut up when you die. There's also the whole argument of being like wholesome when you die that people firmly believe in. Those are the three main I came across when I did my background research.
So I guess on the other side of it, what was the most prevalent reason that you found for people who wanted to be organ donors?
I think it was a lot of people see it as like putting out a helping hand. A lot of people say they believe it as a response. It's a responsibility, not really a proactive action they take to, not really a favor, more of a responsibility. I feel.
Okay. That's good. I think you have a partner here actually to work with moving
Yes.
forward, a new partner. My question to you is about, I like the idea of reevaluating every year. Right? I mean, you have this 5-year timeline. You can hope that everything goes according to plan, but if you just wait until the end of 5 years and you don't pivot along the way, you may be wasting time.
Yes.
So my question to you is, end of year 1, you come up with these organizations at Western, the groups. I think social media is obviously very powerful for mobilizing people. You make this connection in ISNA. You do that. But let's say the results don't come back the way that you want them to be. And I know you said only a small difference would be a great difference, and I agree with you. But people show an interest. They're like, yes, this is a great thing, but then they don't sign up. Can you think of maybe one way that you would pivot in that sense? How would you change from year 1 to year 2 if that was the case?
If people don't necessarily sign up as a registered organ donor, or sign up for the interest groups, or
No, for the organ donation.
Oh,
They'll
okay.
come out, they'll listen, but maybe you don't actually see a difference in registered organ donors. What are some things you could do?
I think maybe if we realize that's something. The thing is, it'll be hard. One of the biggest obstacles I had with my global action plan was like seeing results, like seeing there's 100 new or registered organ donors. So like, that will be difficult to access. But I'm hoping through my plan, that we will hopefully push the message hard enough and maybe have such a hands-on approach that it'll be so easy for them to register. In terms of seeing the difference from year to year, in terms of registering, I'll obviously be conducting research and speaking with Gift of Life and working them to get the proper numbers.
Right.
But I'm hoping that the results my work will merit good results. But if we don't see that, then potentially I'll have to reevaluate things to. Maybe I'm being too niche. Maybe I'm not. Usually things such as that. Seeing my involvement. Seeing if I'm being, a bit exclusive, I'm just going to Western or stuff like that. Maybe stuff like that. If things go smooth sailing, the hope is that I'll be able to expand all my work.
And sometimes it's slow. There's not a quick fix, right? So
Yeah, I think the great part about doing this whole global action plan and the course is that there might be twists and turns along the way, but there's been a lot of great groundwork that's been laid out through the things we've done in this course that I think I've been prepared to, for some adversity within my project. So, thank you.
One question, because you mentioned you're going to Western. What are you going to study?
Medical sciences.
And is there anything else in your personal or professional aspirations that you think, I mean, you may not know, down the road, but is there anything that you think would be relevant there in relation to what you're interested in for your gap?
Oh, certainly. Like, my goal is hopefully to go to medical school, and I think this is related because the whole organ donation, organ transplant team, and like medical school is related. Like, I'm hoping to volunteer at the London Health Sciences Center, and I think that'll provide so many benefits to me, not just being able to advocate for organ donation, which I'm so passionate about, but use this as experience that'll prepare me for medical school potentially.
It's great. I think volunteering sounds like an awesome idea.
Dr. Hood, I can probably comment.
Absolutely, please do.
Adam, great job.
Thank you.
One, but I just also wanted to say, if Western doesn't have a club, I would assume that a lot of universities within Canada also don't have a club. So maybe just to keep in your mind for third or fourth year in this journey or this plan is expanding this with the network to other universities so that they can also carry out this mission.
That's a great comment, and definitely something I'll have to consider. I think one thing I could just think of now with people I'm working with at ISNA, maybe seeing where they're going to university and seeing like what are their future plans. So that's certainly something. I think right now I'm managing Western and ISNAs a lot for me, and with my global action plan, but certainly expanding to other universities, like creating a structured to the point like club is definitely important, and something I'll hopefully work towards.
A rather pithy comment, but the name for the club will be significant, because I know in
Yes.
your report we talk about it as the organ donation club. It might be misread, thus that if you're signed up, you're signing up
To be an organ donor.
So in that sense, finding a good how
name.
that would be, I hate to use the word marketing when it comes to something so important, but needless to say, how that can be marketed to young people is also something to think about. One thing we also talked about briefly was the frosh packets that you get, and there may be some information that can come with that. One other thing I just wanted to mention as a comment is, I believe it was Ms. Beckner, I forget, who showed the apps that you have on phones that are also helpful to prompt folks for donation as well. You may find, kind of further to what Ms. Cole said, is looking at their student affairs departments and taking some look at who is in charge of those types of clubs are also going to have counterparts all over Canada.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
it's just something to think about. Are there any further questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
for a
everyone.
wonderful presentation.